Now, let's welcome Dr. Amir Rasool. Dr. Amir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. That's fine. So apologies on that.
Hello, Dr. Amir.
Yeah, well, I'm not a doctor, but hello. How are you?
Good, good. And you? How are
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too
you?
bad.
Uh, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
So yeah, I mean, it's going to be part of my presentation, but my name Amir Rasool. I'm a tech recruiter
Uh,
based in the UK.
in you resolve that, I read your biography. It's okay?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, sure.
Uh, Dr. Amir Rasool. Amir Rasool is the founder of QA AI Talent, a specialist consulting helping organizations build capability in quantum computing and deep tech talent markets. He is also the most of Beyond the Beat Quantum Pathway podcast, where he interviews global leaders shaping the future of quantum innovation. With over 25 years in technology, recruitment, and talent strategy, Amir is driving initiatives that bridge academia, industry, and innovation to develop the next generation of quantum professionals. His presentation titled Building the Quantum Workforce Pathways from Curiosity to Career. The quantum file is evolving fast, but so are the skills and mindset needed to drive in it. In this keynote, I will explore how education, research, and industry can align to prepare the next generation of quantum professionals, drawing on interviews with founders, researchers, and hiring leaders for across the global ecosystem. I will highlight two real roles emerging in quantum technology: the transferable skills that matter most, and how students can turn early interest in meaningful careers in one of the world's most exciting frontiers. Welcome again, Dr. Amir, and let's proceed, please.
Thank you very much. Okay, do you have my camera on?
Now we can see you and your presentation.
Oh, hold on.
Now we can see you.
Now we can see me.
Yes.
Okay, right. So you're going to have a few teething problems here, but let me get set up and and we'll go from there. Right. Now, can you all see my screen?
No.
Okay. You will be able to shortly.
Now we can see.
Okay, brilliant. So here we go. Okay, are we good to go now? We're going to wait a few minutes.
Sorry.
I said, are we good to go now, or shall we wait a few minutes for
You
people to
you
join?
can start now.
Okay, all right, fine. So, yeah, hello everybody. As said, my name's Amir Rasool. I'm the founder of QAI Talent, and I host Beyond the Bit Quantum Pathways, which is a podcast focused on quantum. I've spent a lot of time exploring how technology, talent, and curiosity collide, especially in the world of quantum computing. Um, I'll tell you a little bit more about my background and how I've come into this. But today I want to kind of start with something a little different, a question that might surprise you. Um, it's a puzzle that's been solved, that's fascinated scientists for centuries. It's called the three-body problem. And actually says a lot about how I think about people, technology, and the work that I do. So, have many people seen the three-body problem on Netflix? Hold on, right, let me, sorry, I'm just going to. Right, I've got my messages up, so we will go from there. Well, it's a book. It's a Chinese book, but it's a philosophy on physics and science. Basically, there's a concept about three moving suns which move in a chaotic pattern, and it's a real physics problem. It's hard to kind of model on classical computers, and the reason why I've brought it up is quantum computing may help us simulate complex systems like this. Um, The three-body problem shows how quickly classical computing struggles with chaotic systems. Quantum computing could change that by simulating all possible interactions at once through superposition, entanglement. This means that quantum algorithms might eventually model complex gravitational or molecular systems far faster and more accurately than traditional models, opening the door to breakthroughs in prediction, physics, and beyond. Now, the interesting thing about that is somebody in this room could be the person that figures that out. So I've spent sort of 25 years in tech recruitment. I founded QAI Talent to focus on quantum computing because I saw a gap. The workforce that we need doesn't necessarily exist yet in the numbers that we need. And through my podcast Beyond the Bit, I speak with quantum leaders globally, and they're all saying the same thing. We can't find enough qualified talent. And from my perspective, that gap is your opportunity. So let's talk numbers. Right now, there are three or more job openings for every qualified candidate in quantum niches. So let that sink in. Three jobs per person. And that's only going to increase. And that's one of the reasons why I'm in this area, because having worked in tech recruitment for the last 25 years, I've seen lots of different transitions. I started off when IBM mainframes were a thing, whether people know that or not. That kind of went to databases, that went to cloud computing. And then for 8 years, I focused on data science, machine learning, and AI. And one thing that I've seen is technology advances far quicker than the skills for or the workforce can to catch up. And if you look at these kind of this slide, let's look at the market projections. It's forecasted that up to 2030, I mean, it varies wildly, but we're looking to see, the market could be worth 4 to 20 billion. Actually, I was at the Australian Embassy on Wednesday for a quantum conference, and they were talking about by 2050, the market being $1 trillion market, which is amazing. And that just rises all to opportunities. Oh, sorry, we've gone a little bit ahead there, so we'll go back. Um, so yeah, so if you look at what companies are doing right now, you've got the likes of IBM, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon who are all scaling teams right now. There's been significant public investment in globally, and I mean these figures are not 100% accurate, and they have changed. I think there was just an article come out today that the US has put an extra 625 million into Chicago and quantum. But if you look at it, the UK added 670 million for the NQC, which is National Quantum Computing Centre. And I mean, I can't go through all the figures for all the countries, but it is pretty significant. So, as it says here, early movers will define this industry for decades. And one of the things I want to get across in this conversation is that the people sitting in this room are the ones that are going to be looking to help progress that. You may feel that you haven't got the skill set right now, but the fact that you're sitting here listening to me talk and you're thinking about quantum means that you're already ahead of the curve. Outside of quantum circles, quantum isn't talked about as much right now. AI gets a lot of the headlines, but having seen that and recruited in that area for a while, I and personally why I've moved into this area is because I feel it's going to catch up. Timeframes we don't know, but we'll go from there. So let's look at sort of the regions that are involved. Um, I've just given five top growth regions and what they're kind of looking at. So you've got the United States, which deals with corporate R&D. They've got a very good, strong startup ecosystem. You've got some big companies there that I mentioned already, the IBMs, Google, Rigetti, so on. Europe is, I'd say, kind of second there. We've got a lot of government funding, research. We've got hubs in the UK, in Germany, the Netherlands, Canada is doing fantastically as well. Once again, I was at another embassy last week, which was the Canadian embassy, and we were talking about quantum computing and relationships around the world. They are one of the first countries to have started a quantum computing project or strategy and have now over 40 quantum tech startups. so far, and once again, they're putting more money into it. Then we have Asia Pacific. There's a little bit less known as to what's happening in some of the countries there, but the Australia partnership they put in, I think it was $900 million into PsiQuantum. And then we've got Latin America, which is emerging hub with lots of rising momentum, as seen by that slide there. So, any questions right now? So I don't want to rush through this without having the opportunity to kind of chat.
Yeah, we had a question, Amir.
Yeah,
So
sure.
you are spending more than 2 decades helping organizations attract and develop the test talent. From your perspective, what makes quantum talent market unique comparing to previous deep tech whites like artificial intelligence or cloud computing?
So what makes it more unique? Just the nascent. So because the technology is at such an early stage, the academics haven't caught up yet. And the similar kind of thing happened with data science and machine learning. Previously, and I recruited in that area for 8 years, data science was classified as the sexiest job of the 21st century. Now people don't really mention it as much. But what happened was once data science started, I mean, everything that we look at now is based off that large language models, recurring neural networks, recommendation systems, etc., has paved the way for the chat GPTs, etc., that we have now. But what happened at that point in time is they were a handful of scientists, physicists, or whatever it may be, and not enough talent. And that's exactly where we are right now. So the demand is outstripping supply. So ultimately, governments, higher education, companies need to address that. And what's happening is we're starting to see is there are a lot more courses coming out. There are a lot more companies that are looking to educate. So yeah, and hopefully that answers the question. The reason why there's a lack of talent is that if you think about it, there's a conveyor belt of people coming through. In this field currently, it's the highly prized skill set is a PhD, which isn't necessarily true, but everybody's going for the PhDs. Now, there are a very limited number of PhD students, just full stop. It takes so long for them to get to this stage that now the companies are pulling them out. It leaves a gap. So now we need to start looking at how do we educate the next workforce. And I think that's what's exciting. And that's how I see it's very comparative to the data science, machine learning, and AI industry so far.
Wonderful. We
Yeah.
had another question for the public for Vishal. What do you envision for the future in quantum key distribution and how
Right. Okay.
significant
So I'm going to
do you
preface this. I'm a recruitment consultant. I'm not technical. Sorry, I lost you there for a sec, Brolio.
oh just sorry. Yeah, that's the questions for Vishal. We had another that okay, through your work and cool AI talent, you help reach academia and industry. What do you see as the biggest gap between the how university are training quantum professional and what companies are actually looking for today?
Oh, right. So all the large companies, large tech companies, have got their own quantum programs. So you can look at the IBMs, Amazon, Google, Facebook, or Meta. They've all got quantum programs. So they're the big ones. So they're all looking. You've got outside of those companies, you've got a lot of people in finance are looking for people. You've got JP Morgan, who are probably one of the biggest proponents of quantum computing, and they've been looking in this space for ages. Once again, I've got to preface this. I'm not a technical person, so my knowledge is from an outsider view. But they're looking at how, if you look at finance, for example, and I'm sure other people have commented about this, it's about speed of transactions, about latency, and so on. So the likes of JP Morgan, Santander, HSBC, to name just a few, are looking at quantum to see how they can speed up their financial services. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And then outside of that, you've got quantum tech startups, and then there's so many to list. I couldn't even go through them all. But if you want that kind of information, I can get it to you. Not maybe today, but we can connect and I can share that kind of information or tell you where to find it.
Okay. We had another questions. So
Sure.
on Beyond the Big Quantum Pathway podcast, you are interviewing many global leaders in quantum. What recurrent themes and lessons have emerged from those conversations about building sustainable quantum careers?
Well, that's the main point is accessibility, getting accessibility to people to train in quantum, in whichever field there will be. And it's something I'll talk about a little bit later in this conversation about the kind of careers out there. But like I said, right now, and it happened same with machine learning, data science, the demand is for the PhD students. And that's only because of due to the fact that they've studied for so long and so hard, they seem that people think that the aptitude is there and they're a lot better, or they're able to do that. But what we need to do is bring this down a few levels lower. We need to have MSc students and even more so BSc students who are studying quantum, so not necessarily the PhD. Now, there's also a big problem with the PhD is cost. People can't afford to do PhDs necessarily. I don't know throughout the world, but in the UK, it's quite an expensive endeavor. There aren't that many positions, but so that makes it slightly elitist, for want of a better way of putting it. But and that's a barrier. So what's happening? What needs to happen now is we need to start educating people at more of a grassroots level, and that could be coming from school. We need to start having these conversations in school about, I mean, which they've started doing about AI, for example. But if we start talking to kids about quantum when the age of 11, then they've got an idea of what it is. And but then we also need to create the pathways for them to progress along that and get to BSc. So once they're at the BSc level, which majority of tech people will get to, they have an ability to then transfer into either academia, stay in academia, or go into industry. So that's what I think is a big block right now that needs to be addressed. And from everybody I've spoken to on the Quantum Career podcast, that's and all the conferences that I go to and all the webinars that I speak at and listen to, it's the workforce planning and workforce development. That's the big gap, and that's what everybody's addressing. This technology will not grow unless we have the people to grow it. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. That's answer the question.
Well,
We don't
that
have
kind of
any
segues
question
into
more.
my next slide. So I'll kind of go into that and then we
Mhm.
can come back
Yeah,
to some
sure.
questions.
Yeah.
So, quantum roles around the ecosystem. So, as it says here on the slide, so you've got your technical roles, which are quantum software engineers, a little bit about what is needed there, algorithm researchers, hardware engineers, etc. You can kind of read all of that. And then you have your commercial roles. Now, one thing before I go into sort of the microcase studies, one thing I want to say is when we look at quantum and we look at companies, these are technical commercial roles, but quantum companies are going to need a lot more. If you think of a company in itself, they're going to need marketing, sales, finance, IT, technical, a whole skill set that is needed to just build a company. And then that applies to building a quantum company. So although we're kind of or I've prioritized the technical roles here and the commercial roles, which are focused on product or whatever it may be. There are going to be a whole host of roles coming out as and when these companies grow. So if you look at the likes of Quantum, think about how many people they employ. You look at IonQ, IQM, Rigetti, all the large quantum companies. They have the specific quantum specialists, but a lot of people are needed to help build that company into what it needs to be. And that can be pre-sales, post-sales, business development, consultants, marketing, and a whole host. The list is endless. So there are a lot of positions are going to be created, and a lot of positions are going to exist within quantum. So one of the underlying themes that I had in the back of my mind is that this is an opportunity for everybody who's here, who everybody's already thinking about quantum. It's not necessarily a case of going into a role like a career path, but it's about creating your own career path. But we'll come on to that. And that's something similar to basically why I've got three examples of people that I've placed in jobs. So I've got sort of microcase number one. So you've got a computer science graduate who started by contributing to Qiskit on GitHub, fixing bugs, improving documentation, building small features. Through that visibility, he built connections with the IBM quantum team, and within 18 months landed an internship as a quantum application scientist. So what's the key there? They didn't wait for permission, but they started building and taking care of their own portfolio. So kind of key things to emphasize there is look at open source contributions, getting visible proof of your skills, do some networking, make sure your GitHub activity on your portfolio is good. And timeframes, 18 months is a realistic time frame for a beginner to getting into professional opportunity. So that's kind of one. There's another path where electrical engineer joined a national lab as a cryogenic test engineer, which wasn't a quantum role initially, but quantum computers need dilution refrigerators, operating at near absolute zero. By mastering the hardware side, they became essential to improving system performance. So that's kind of number two. And then if we look at outside of quantum, the next example I wanted to give you is basically an MBA graduate. This person was a little bit further along in their career, but they had a tech curiosity, which took them to IBM's quantum courses. They started attending quantum conferences and learned enough to start speaking the language. They ultimately joined, I'm not going to give company names here, but a quantum cloud provider as a product manager. So now they're involved in defining roadmaps for quantum as a service. And the business acumen plus their quantum awareness has made them valuable, for want of a better way of putting it. So business roles will need quantum literacy, not just quantum PhDs. Your existing skill set plus quantum curiosity is a valuable combination. And companies desperately need people who can translate between quantum researchers and business stakeholders. A lot of these decisions for use of quantum is going to be in boardrooms. So we're going to need people who can explain the benefits, the feature, advantage, benefit of quantum to that company. So once again, if you look at it from that perspective, all of a sudden there's a whole host of roles that are opening up. So yeah, we'll pause there for a quick second. Is there anything else, Braulio?
Yes, Amir, we had another question. You have met and interviewed many leaders across the quantum ecosystems. What is the one piece of window or mindset that you have noticed all successful innovators share?
Right. I mean, curiosity, absolute curiosity for the technology and the concept. So yeah, that's the first one because this is such an interesting area. This, like I've mentioned, the amount of money that's being plowed into it, that's only going to increase. We haven't really got to proper quantum adoption yet. Once that happens, then possibilities open up in chemistry, finance, uh, supply chain, whatever. Um, but to but yeah, the people I'm just trying to reflect on conversations I've had, and I've had, bearing in mind I speak to candidates and companies as well as my podcast on a daily basis. There's thousands of conversations that I'm trying to reference in my brain, but it ultimately comes down to curiosity as to the technology. That's what's going to get you up in the morning. That's what's going to keep you going in a technology that isn't necessarily proven yet or out there, but the ideas that you have are the ones that are going to start pushing this forward.
We've had another question for Sophia. Looking
Yeah.
back at your career, is any advice you wish someone had given you when you were just starting out in technology?
Um, So mine's slightly different because I'm a recruitment consultant. I'm not hands-on technical, so we need to just kind of clear that for now. But the advice, I mean, it's one of those phrases. If you find a job that you love, then it doesn't feel like a job, and it's more of a hobby. Find the area that interests you and pursue that. And that's actually a point which I think I'm going to be making later on. But it's good that we can have this to and fro. Find the area that interests you, and then follow it. Now, if you look at my career, like I said, I was dealing with IBM mainframes. We had programming languages, sort of COBOL, Kix, DB2. These might be too old for my audience here, but then we went into cloud, and then you had SAP, and then database, or whatever. I've pivoted several times because I've seen a technology that I'm like, oh, that's quite fascinating. What is that? And I've moved into that. So I had a company called Sumner and Scott, which I ran for 8 years, and that was in data science, machine learning, and AI. When I set it up, my friends were going, I said, look, data science is going to change everything. And I'm like, what's data science? What's machine learning? I'm like, trust me, this stuff is fascinating. Now we've got the computing power, and it's going to change everything. And look where we are now. We're using Claude, Gemini, Copilot, and that's just on a surface level that like me that I'm using. But that's all off the basis of data science and machine learning. That's got us to this position here. So while I was doing that, I started hearing about quantum and being a bit of a tech person, sci-fi fan or whatever. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And also having learnt and seen how AI and machine learning has all progressed, I was like, well, this is gonna grow and it's gonna grow fast. So I've been properly doing this for about 2.5 years, and if you could see the seismic jump that I can see in the last 12 months alone, and next year is going to be even bigger because there's just much more spotlight on quantum. There's more investment. People are starting to see some cases, and that funds ambition, desire, curiosity. So, to answer the question in short, find an area that interests you. It could be biotech, it could be chemistry, it could be finance, or whatever within quantum, and look into that.
Thank you, Amir. We now have more questions for the public. You could continue.
Okay, well, that's actually what's a good segue to move into the next slide, which is basically where do you find these roles? So who are looking? So if you look at it, you've got four main environments to think about are quantum startups. Now these are generally, I mean, classified as kind of high risk, high learning speed, broad responsibility. You're probably going to need it to put a lot of different hats on at any different point in time. But they're the ones that are growing and pushing the technology. Then you have university research, which I'm sure people know about, and that's the PhD postdoc tracks. The kind of thing that gives you is a deeper focus into it. Obviously, publications, long-term research, national labs, which gives you kind of stability and cutting-edge infrastructure, NIST, Fermilab, NPL, etc. Then you've got the hybrid roles, which are industry, academic collaborations, joint projects, and consortiums. I suppose the best message for this is the best quantum professionals often move between these worlds over their careers. Your path doesn't have to be linear. There's an interesting book by a friend of mine called Christopher Bishop, and it's called Improvising Careers, and it's planning for careers that don't exist right now. And his entire thing is pivot, which also links to what I was saying about curiosity. So be curious at first and foremost, and then pivot, learn the skill sets that you think are needed for the next role. And the interesting thing about this technology, because there aren't a hell of a lot of roles out there, we can all probably name the roles that are there. A lot more are going to come up. So if you're looking to go, I'm going to start off as a junior, become middle, say, let's go say machine learning, junior machine algorithm, quantum machine learning, then senior, then team leader, then manager, etc. That kind of career path isn't necessarily going to exist right now. So we'll pivot as the technology pivots. Yeah. So next. So talking about technical skills, what kind of skills matter? I mean, I think my audience is probably better than know more than me than on this. But the kind of things you need to know is programming. Make sure you know quantum fundamentals, mathematics, frameworks, and classical foundations. So I would say, from what I've seen, that Python is essential. So there's a good focus to start. Cubic fundamentals, cubics, gates, basic circuits, simple algorithms. From a mathematics perspective, linear algebra, complex problems. The undergrad level is a good place to start from here. And then you've got your frameworks and algorithms. And once again, the key message here is you don't need to know everything to start. Build something small, show it. Hiring managers would rather see I built X with this rather than I read 10 papers. So it's about getting your technical knowledge out there. And I suppose, I mean, a way to start is if you've got a camera, scan this. This is the link to the IBM Qiskit Learning Portal. which is free, it's structured, it's practical, and it's practical, and give you an opportunity to take your first real step into quantum potentially tonight. I will pause there. Is there anything else coming up, question-wise?
No, there is no more question for the public, not yet.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll get through this and then we can have a good Q&A afterwards. So yeah, so take a scan of that. And then what kind of soft skills do we have? What's needed? So it's about sort of, so you have your technical skills and you're going to need your soft skills and your mindset, which will help separate you. Big one is communication. As I mentioned, being able to explain quantum concepts clearly to non-experts is going to be a superpower. I mentioned that you're going to be talking to, if you're a quantum expert and you're working in a big company, you could be talking to various different departments. That could be supply chain, finance, whatever it may be. Imagine you're working for an automotive company. People like BMW are doing big things in quantum right now. And and SAP as well, for example, your job will be to go and talk to stakeholders in those various functions and explain what your technical product does, how it can benefit them. You'll need to understand what their problems are and then come back with a strategy or whatever it may be. So communication is going to be a very big one. And that links in with interdisciplinary thinking, being able to connect quantum to real problems in your domain, your company's domain, and explain to them. Remember, you're not going to be talking to technical people most of the time, and even if you're working for a technical, say, I don't know, PQC consultancy that's going in to talk to from a cryptographer perspective, you're going to need to be able to explain what this technology is, what the impacts are, how you can, what are the benefits for using our product, etc. The field moves fast, so also you've got to be very comfortable in learning continuously, and the collaboration. Well, once again, it's a team game, being able to communicate with physicists, engineers, the software, the business, and so on. So it's important to pay attention and be aware of the soft skills and your own mindset on that. Okay. So should you move straight into industry? Well, you've got various different frameworks which you can look at, which I've got here. So you've got academia, which we mentioned is the benefits are deep specialization, gives you the opportunity to do publications and some teaching. You have a certain amount of intellectual freedom, but the cycles are slower. So then if you look at industry, that's going to give you the opportunity to apply an applied focus, which is applied problem solving, talking about products, customers, dealing with deadlines. It's probably more team based. It will be faster cycles and a clearer impact. But then you also have your bridging options, which is the gap between the two, which is internships, industrial placements. You can do PhDs, which are joint within industry. Companies are now sponsoring people to do PhDs. One of the benefits of that will give you the ability to consult and collaborate between labs, excuse me, and companies, and you'll be involved in both academic and industry events. So pick what fits you. You can always pivot later. The decision is not irreversible. Okay. So next one is kind of helps pull all of this together, and so we'll come on to that now. So yeah, one of the main things is kind of visibility in the quantum space, and that's what I do when I talk to universities, when I talk to people who are looking to transfer. So make sure your online brand is on point. As it says here, make sure your LinkedIn headline is appropriate. Make sure you've got your section that showcase your projects, your publications. Make sure you're posting regularly, your learnings, anything that you know. It's a funny one, but if you're seen in the space and you're contributing to the space, then people will recognize that, and it gives you a bit of a presence, a jump up, for want of a better way of putting it. Engagement, comment on quantum posts, ask questions, connect with founders, connect with researchers, connect with companies, and literally don't be afraid to connect. There's an NQCC event in London on Friday, over 3,000 attendees, and they're all quantum curious. So you ask yourself the question: if everybody is doing this, what I'm suggesting, then you need to do it, and two, you need to do it better. If you have got projects, then let's look for endorsements for your skill set, etc. Start going into quantum challenges. There's lots. I mean, hackathons. There's so many of them, which are brilliant. It gives you great opportunity to work on real life projects. Gives you great visibility with companies. Companies are using these to find talent. It's a great way to find out who's the cream of the crop, who out of a bunch of people. And a lot of these people then go on to who do well in hackathons, go on to find jobs with these companies. The next point is YouTube presentations. This is a kind of a smaller one. I don't think I suggest everybody do it, but if you have created content or you've done something that you're quite proud of that you'd like to show, get it out there. It's all about visibility. One of the reasons why I do the Beyond the Bit podcast is I don't have enough time to talk to everybody, and both candidates and clients. So this allows me to stay visible in the area. It knows people are able to see what I'm doing, what I'm contributing, who I'm talking to, the kind of people I'm representing, the kind of problems I'm facing, and as a result, companies then will approach me and saying, "Hi, Amir, we've seen you raised a very interesting point about this. We're struggling with hiring in this particular area. Can you help us?" Yes, absolutely. Or can you give us a work plan on how we need to hire 5 people this year? How would we go about it? So then I will go in and I'll research on, salaries, availability, timeframes, notice periods, and all of that, and give them a plan. So that's all through my podcast and the visibility that brings in. Okay. But once again, like I said, it says there, quality over quantity. You don't have to do hundreds of posts or posts every week, etc. But the posts that you do put the effort in, make sure that they are accurate and right, and see what it does. And ultimately, this kind of content works behind the scenes. Just because you've posted it doesn't mean, and it doesn't bring in results immediately. It's still out there. People are searching, and people will come back to you. People have come back to me on posts that I put out, and podcasts I put out a year ago. Okay. So I think your quantum journey will become kind of real the moment that you make it visible. So you want to be, if someone's Googling your name and quantum, what do they find? So that's all about building your quantum presence. And obviously, don't make stuff up because you will get caught out. Okay. Next. So yeah, it's a quick poll, although I'm not very good at this. How many have used Qiskit or another quantum SDK? No, I can't see the results of this. Okay. Well, we'll move on. But as mentioned, attend hackathons. Obviously, this is sponsored by IBM, and they have their biannual hackathons, which I believe is spring and fall. There are so many more out there, but keep an eye on those conferences. I mean, some are expensive, so unless you can afford to and they're in your area, that's, I think, is probably something that you don't necessarily need to do right now. But if there's online events, definitely get onto those. It's a great learning tool, and you also get to see the lay of the land, what companies are thinking. So I probably listen to I join 2 webinars a week, because it's a great way of hearing real life what people are doing, similar to this, and being able to engage with them. And then groups, I don't know what location the audience is in, but if you've got meetup groups, either online or in person, that's another great way to expand your presence, your knowledge, and your network.
Amir, we had some questions for the public.
Yeah, sure.
So, where are your favorite places to go to keep up with this news? It seems there is a new breakthrough every week.
No, that's whoever said that question. Thank you very much. It's a very good point. There is a lot of news, and it could be a full-time job. Just trying to keep on top of this. I actually use sort of ChatGPT to collate all my news for me. I've given some prompts to it, and I say, okay, so every Monday morning, it scours the news according to the prompts that I've given it, and I have an email landing in my inbox telling me everything that's happened in the week before. That way, I can skim read it, see what's of interest to me, and then do a deeper dive. So there are tools to do that, and ways to do that. So that's one that works fantastically for me because time's very kind of precious. But then that also gives me the opportunity to focus in on what I need to focus in on. Does that
We
help?
had another question. Yeah.
Yeah.
What legacy would you like to leave in the quantum ecosystem as a
Oh,
founder and
wow.
connector of people?
Wow. Um, Someone's stroking my ego here. Um, Ultimately, my legacy, I would like to throughout my recruitment careers. One, I did a good job. Two, I help people. So every time that I place somebody in a job, I get an immense sense of pride. People look for jobs for various reasons. It could be that they're bored, they need more money, they moving house, they've got married. There's 101 reasons why people need a new job, and I help facilitate that. So when that person takes a job and I've helped them, I'm like, great, because then all of a sudden their life expands in a way, and I know now I've had a part to play in it, and I've placed thousands of people over the years, and that's why I've done it for so long, and I keep doing it. From a quantum perspective, help grow the. I mean, because I truly believe in this technology, and I've kind of gone all in. I'd like to know that I helped contribute to this technology. I helped build the ecosystem. I helped people find jobs. I guided them, educated them, and helped them. That's I suppose yeah that's kind of the legacy I think I would like to leave.
Thank you for too much for answering. We have another question. Do you speak about transforming curiosity into a career? What are some practical first steps a student or early career researchers can take today to begin in this journey?
Someone out there is psychic. There you go. Does that help? So, looking at quantum career roadmaps, yeah. So, if you were starting off straight away, this is something I would probably look at. Look at getting your foundations right, which we've talked about earlier. And this is just, a 12-month roadmap. It's not set in stone. I'm just doing it for a graphic. Really, it's not going. If you do this, it's not going to follow that pattern completely. But it just gives you an idea of how if you're starting from scratch, this is a good way to start. So get your foundations, understand the technology, understand the mathematics and the base behind it. Start, looking at first projects. Um, build first circuits, do some small demos, join hackathons, do an online challenge. Then start picking a focus. Maybe could that be hardware adjacent businesses? Could it be algorithms? Could it be software? And then once you've kind of picked that lane, maybe go deeper into projects in that lane. And then like once you've started getting this information behind you and your experience is starting to grow, start getting your LinkedIn polished, start looking for internships, looking for research roles, entry positions, start networking for referrals and so on. It is ambitious, but it's realistic. People have done this and people are doing it, and more people are starting to. I hope that answers that question. If not, please, I can elaborate further.
We
Was
had
was there
another
anything I
more.
missed in that question?
I think so, yeah. So we had another question for Sophia. I don't know if you repeat it again or is the same. Looking ahead, what kind of quantum roles or specialization do you expect to emerge in the next 5 years that maybe not even recognized yet?
Well, that's the golden question, isn't it? And that kind of comes back to what I was saying about the roles. And once again, this book, Improvising Careers, which I'm pitching, it is a very interesting role. The problem, or the not the problem, the benefit of this technology is we don't know where it's going to go. I could not sit here and predict what roles are going to exist. That would be impossible. But I know that the roles are going to exist. So you've got to look at once the technology starts to mature, people start looking at different applications. There's somebody listening here who's got an idea that classical computers won't be able to solve. Or somebody out there is they're sitting in a bedroom looking at think having a think, and it's how like I say, well, I go back to machine learning and data science because that's the nearest we have to this in terms of recent growth in technology. People are fixing problems that we don't even think about yet. So that in itself will create lots of opportunities. Once again, if you look at the bigger companies well it's once again this comes on to my next slide, but it's going to have applications in all areas: chemistry, biotech, neurosurgery, neuroscience, pharmaceuticals, finance, supply chain, across the board. And it's going to get to the point where that will in itself create new roles. And I couldn't even tell you, but I'm excited for that and how that's evolving. And the roles are now evolving. Once we start looking at algorithms more, like PQC, someone mentioned about QKD, which is important. Both of those are fundamentally important, but we don't know quite how that's going to look from QKD from a practical physical hardware perspective, and so on. Once again, please forgive me, I'm not super technical, and I'm sure the people who've been on this Fall Fest that would probably be able to give you a more technical answer than that.
Thank you, Amir. We had another questions. So, how do you identify potential in someone who maybe not have the international qualification but shows curiosity, creativity, or resilience?
That's a tricky one. There is no formula, but it's about so if I look at my career, I've put people into jobs that haven't necessarily had the skill set, but have had that X factor. And that the X factor is the intellect, the curiosity, the energy to push themselves forward and move forward. I've put people in jobs where they don't necessarily have the skill set, but you know that they're ambitious. You know they've got the brain power. They're motivated. They're eager, and you put them in a job. You know they're going to fly because they've got that belief inside of them and that desire, and that counts for a lot because that's what gets you through your academics, isn't it? I mean, the people who do not carte blanche, but the ones who put the hard work in, and you can see it and they're motivated to, and that's what I look for in people. That's the personality trait I look for, and people who work for me. Are you ambitious? Have you got the drive? Softer skills. Are you a good person? Are you going to put not the hours in? I'm not talking about this hustle culture where you got to work 80 hours a week, but are you going to put the effort into the job and do the job to the best of your ability? And you can, when you've interviewed as many people as I have, you can kind of see that. And that's what I look for.
Wonderful. We had another question for Tabitha. For those interested in quantum networks, are these area of focus to research, do projects, or outside? And what is the typical for quantum computing?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, sure. For those interested in quantum networks, are these areas of focus to research, do projects, or outside? What is the typical for quantum computing?
Oof, so that's delving into an area which I don't know enough about to give you an honest answer to that. But once again, especially in this time frame, because we're going to run out of time in a little while. But on the last slide, you have the ability to connect with me. By all means, send these questions to me outside of this chat, and I'll be able to answer them then. Because I will have to do a bit of digging around and probably a bit of research to give you a proper answer. But I'm happy to do that, and that comes back to me and the legacy of what do I want to do. It's this is how I will help this technology and this industry sector grow, is by helping people like you, whoever asked the question, getting the answers to these and seeing where that takes you. Okay, so I've got one
Okay,
more slide left, so we'll get through that and then we can just
yes.
go purely on the Q&A. And this
There
is
is no more
what.
question for the public. You can continue. Sorry,
Okay,
continue.
good, good. No worries. But yeah, so this is what I was talking about. So interdisciplinary fusion. The ecosystem's growing, and there's a growing quantum advantage across use cases. We were looking at hybrid classical quantum systems, which will potentially become the norm. Quantum as a service is widening access. As technology grows and more companies start using it, the cost will come down. And to answer your question, there's going to be a whole host of roles coming up. You've quantum ethics, the quantum ecosystem, product security, etc. And from once again, reiterating what I said, it's going to affect every industry sector, just as databases did, cloud technologies had, data science has, machine learning has. All of these, they are all going to impact every single area out there. It's just figuring out how, why, and what. So just I've listed some here: chemistry and quantum, drug discovery acceleration, finance and quantum, which I referred to earlier, portfolio optimization, risk modeling, supply chain optimization. It's a company called SAP, huge supply chain product company, for want of a better way of putting it. Probably could have explained that better. They have already got a quantum department with a global head of quantum for SAP, and they are going into each and every facet of the business, explaining what they think quantum can do, starting to understand the problems that these companies have, and starting to see how quantum could possibly solve them. It's not going to solve every problem, it's not going to be right for every problem, but that's what companies are starting to do. So the trillion-dollar companies out there are already doing this. And all of that, finance, logistics, supply chain, etc., and that occurs in SAP in one company. So let's multiply that out. AI and quantum, where's that going to take us? We talk about speed and what have you. But yeah, so ultimately, your unique background, as I put here, is an asset. It's not a barrier. The most valuable people will combine domain experience and expertise with quantum literacy. So if you're thinking, I'm not a physicist, maybe quantum isn't for me, I disagree. I think you're probably the person that needs this field, that this field needs. And that pretty much brings me to the end of my little presentation here. I hope it's been good. If you'd like to connect with me, please scan that QR code, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Amir Rasool. Please do connect. And if you've got any questions that we're not able to answer in the next few minutes, by all means, send them to me and I will do my damnedest to get back to you. But yeah, the workforce that will make quantum real doesn't exist yet at scale. So that's your opportunity. It's being built right now by the people who choose to step in. And that's people who are starting to talk about quantum, people who are listening here. So I would, take one concrete step from what I've said, pick an action from this talk to do, and give yourself a little bit of time frames. Every week, just keep adding to it, keep adding to it. Ultimately, the quantum future needs builders. It needs people like you. And that kind of ends my little presentation. I hope that's been helpful, and thank you for your time. And we'll now answer some questions.
Thank you, Amir. Okay, we have some questions for you. So, how important are the soft skills like communication, adaptability, and teamwork compared to hard quantum knowledge?
Oh, essential. I mean, something I did talk about earlier on. The ability, communication is one of the biggest ones, and I'm not talking about the ability to speak English or another language fluently, etc. It's the ability to communicate your ideas, the ability to talk to your colleagues, your audience, your customers, etc. So the soft skills are fundamental, but these soft skills are transferable. They're important in every industry sector, every job. You think about my partner's a neurosurgeon. You think about how important communication is for her. Explaining very complex topics in quite simple terms for somebody to understand. Empathy. And all of that. So, yeah, 100% important. But once again, these are things you can develop, and these are things that you can improve on. Once again, the information is out there. There's so much information on the likes of YouTube and podcasts and so on and so forth on how to present yourself, how to have empathy and so on. But so it's something I look at. It probably doesn't come across in this presentation, but I constantly look at my communication skills, how I'm communicating. I mean, I've got people here from all over the world, so I've got to be able to communicate with everybody effectively. So I'm always conscious about how I am doing that. So yeah, so soft skills are critical in life generally.
Thank you so much. The second question is, what can a student with no background in quantum do today to start the journey meaningfully?
Well, that's a great question. I would throw that back and say I want you to answer that, but we can't do that in this forum. But pick up a book, pick up a tutorial, pick up a YouTube video, pick up a podcast. If you're interested in quantum, learn more about it from start to start. This is a technology that's going to be around for a very, very long time. It's not flash in the pan, and it's only going to grow exponentially. So even if you're starting today and you have no idea what it is, that's fine. That's absolutely brilliant. But the fact that you're asking the question is you're ahead of the curve straight away. So my suggestion would be, and remember, I'm a tech recruiter and I was focusing on machine learning and data science, and I started hearing about quantum. So I went and immersed myself in quantum, not 24 hours a day, but started learning about it, understanding what it is, understanding the basic concepts, understanding what people want from it, etc. And then start building up your own education in it. Like I said, there are courses out there. I mean, there's a company called QCAN, set up by Arda Arba, and which has just launched quite recently, and they've got a course called QCAN 101. I don't know whether I should be publicizing this. There are other providers. There's Cureka and there's IBM, etc. But they are companies out there which are helping the workforce. In fact, I've done a podcast with QCAN, so if you want to try there, and they are entry level into quantum. So it is what is quantum, and they will give you that platform. So start researching these and start adopting them, and they're very competitively priced. But there's also free resources as well. So that's something I would do. But yeah, lots of little things like that. You don't, and if it depends on your learning style. If you pick up books, but there's so much information on YouTube. Like I said, there's so many different podcasts. Pick a few of them. There's some that talk about high level tech skills, which kind of frazzles your brain after a bit, but you start to understand the concepts. There's some that talk about companies and what the companies are doing, so then you understand who the players are in that area, and just start slowly. Don't put pressure on yourself. Start slowly and build yourself up.
Thank you, Amir. Thanks for this funny question related to the previous one. So, what messages would you like to share directly with the students and young professionals from Mexico and Latin America who are curious about quantum computing, but they don't know where to start?
Well, hopefully I kind of answered that there. But you know what? Okay, so that question has come up a couple of times. What I will do after this at some point in the next week or so is give a little starter list. I think would that help? Give you kind of like if you're, I'll do it. You're absolute beginner, and you're interested in quantum. What I would suggest where you can start, and it'll give you some references to tools, to podcasts, to books, to people to follow, to newsletters to subscribe to, and that starts your educational content and your educational journey, and then you can go from there. Do you think that would be helpful? What do you reckon,
Yeah,
Bravia? Do you
that's
think that'd be helpful?
yeah, yeah. Thanks for that respond to the question.
Yeah.
Um, the last one, in one sentence, how would you describe the mindset on the future and quantum professional?
In one sentence. God, can't. I'm not good at what sentences. Um, I really couldn't answer that, but the mindset is, I suppose, curiosity and ambition. That's the mindset. That's what I've seen with everybody that I've spoken to in quantum. They're curious about it and they're ambitious. Um, and that's yeah, and that kind of crosses into all areas in life. If you're going to move forward, curiosity is the key one because that's what keeps you going, and that's with your ambition. If you're not if you want to be motivated, your curiosity and ambition they all kind of come into it. And that's what will keep you going. Told you I couldn't say it in
Thank
one
you, Amir.
sentence.
Yeah, thank you, Amir. Yeah, it's
No
hard to
problem.
reduce in only one sentence. Yeah. Thank you so much, Amir. Thank you for your beautiful lecture, and thank you for accepting our invitation to be participating in the Kiwihood EVM Kiski Fall Fest 2025. We appreciate the effort. We appreciate that you stay here with us, and we hope in next future you also be participating in future events with us.
Oh, absolutely. First, thank you for the invite, and thank you for everybody that's been here listening to this. Like I said, I'll bring it back up very quickly. But please feel free to connect with me. Send me any questions that you have, and I'll come back to you, with answers hopefully. But yeah, thank you for listening. I hope it's been of interest. But yeah, keep quantum curious. The future is what you want it to be. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Amir.
Thank you. Okay. So I'll stop sharing now.